Grace this afternoon. I had to swear in a new lawyer and take up something from Veterans Court. So just a slight delay, but let me go ahead and get us on the record. We're back on the record of the matter of the state of Georgia versus Khalif Adams et al. In 22 SC 183572. See, Mr. Stillwell, Mr. Bodson, Mr. Sharp, good afternoon, gentlemen. All right, Mr. Williams, Mr. Steele, Mr. Adams, and Mr. Nard, good afternoon. All right, Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Weinstein, good afternoon. All right, Mr. Huey and Mr. Matthews Sr., good afternoon. All right, Mr. Nichols and Mr. Harvey, good afternoon. And Mr. Ryan and Misty Williams, good afternoon. All right, back from self-imposed exile, we have the Messrs. Brown and Smith, and we have Mr. Uhelski, Mr. Atkins, and ladies, Miss Hilton and Miss Love. All right, good afternoon. All right. Okay, are all jurors present, Sergeant Ham? Okay, all right. Before we go ahead and call for our jurors, let me go ahead and take up just a couple of things briefly with you all. I'm in possession of, let's see. Which I'll mark as the next court's exhibit in order, and the attachments there too. Mr. Steele's email from May the 10th of 2024 at 4:50 p.m. In regards to motion in limine number 51. I'm also in possession of Mr. Steele's request on 5/14 of 24 at 9:08 a.m. Requesting to argue motion limine number 51 prior to the playing of another jail call, as he believes is inadmissible under law. And I'm also in possession of an IG post, Mr. Williams' IG Instagram records, which was sent to everyone. There are 3 Instagram business records. First one being pages 5651 and 5652. The next one being pages 5793 and 5794. And Instagram business record page 6828 and 6829, which the state is seeking to admit, I believe through the testimony of our current witness, Detective Racy. The court's had an opportunity to kind of study the issue because it's come up several times. And Mr. Steele, the court is aware that you've raised this issue at least 3 times, a couple of your colleagues as well. And that's okay, and the court has no issue with that. But I just kind of want to make it clear for purposes of, there seems to be some issues about whether or not assuming that a foundation can be laid, and we've had some arguments and discussions about authenticity and admissibility and foundation. which is in one camp, and I think we've covered that already, and where these particular source documents have been pulled from in terms of Instagram and other jail calls, and the court's still going to adhere to foundation and make those determinations. But as a whole, the court understands that. Then there's another set of arguments that have been advanced, those being whether or not the statements themselves from these Instagram postings or other sources can be admitted. We've had several arguments and discussions about the admissibility of said statements. Most of them come in under statements of a party opponent. Then there's been the ancillary discussion related to that is, well, the requests for limiting instructions and the like, because these statements are only admissible as to one or the other. This being a different type of case, since a conspiracy has been pled or has been sought in the state's indictment as part of count one, these statements also come in, and it's the court's opinion, and we've had some discussions about this, about whether or not they come in for co-conspirator statements. To that end, I'm going to cover a couple of things that the court would like to put on record. To prove up a statement made by one co-conspirator in order to use it against another co-conspirator, there needs to be evidence of the following elements. One, prior to the current trial, the defendant participated in the criminal agreement. Two, a confederate of the defendant made a declaration in furtherance of the conspiracy while the conspiracy was active and ongoing. Three, a witness who heard the conspiracy made the remark, testifies to it, and the content of the declaration is relevant to the case. And I'm quoting from Carlson on Central Foundations to Georgia, or Georgia Advocates, 3rd edition. The Georgia rule reference is found under OCGA 24-8-801D2, adheres to this federal counterpart and applies correspondingly. Accordingly, New Georgia and federal authority with an emphasis on 11th Circuit Court of Appeals precedent should be utilized for the interpretation and application of this code provision. 801D2E provides that a statement is not hearsay if the statement is offered against the party and is a statement by a co-conspirator of the party for which was made during and in furtherance of the conspiracy. 801D provides that admissions under the party opponents shall not be excluded under the hearsay rule. Under 801D2 Echo, the party admission rule includes statements offered against a party that was made by a co-conspirator of that party during the course and in furtherance of the conspiracy. And that cites Kemp versus the state, 303 Georgia, 385, 2018. As such, 801D2 Echo provides for vicarious admission in the context of a statement by a co-conspirator of a party. And that's found under State versus Martin. And that is Ohio case 9, Ohio Appeals 3rd, 150. Now, to establish admissibility of an admission under 801D2 Echo, the proponent must demonstrate by a preponderance of the evidence that a conspiracy existed. The conspiracy included the declarant and the party against whom the statement is being offered, and the statement was made during the course and in furtherance of the conspiracy. So we've had some discussion here about whether or not the conspiracy must be established. And you all are correct. It does need to be established. At this point in time, after hearing 70-something witnesses and the like, the state, in the court's opinion, has established by preponderance of the evidence, at least for the purposes of co-conspirator statements, that that's been established. Now, whether or not the jury buys that is another thing. It's only for the purposes of admissibility in terms of whether or not the court's going to allow the statement. So that is the first thing that I wanted to share with you all this afternoon. Now, when offering the co-conspirator declarations, there's a burden on the state or the government to demonstrate the existence of a conspiracy the defendant's membership in it, and the declarant conspirator was speaking in an effort to advance the conspiracy. As a rule, there must be corroboration of the defendant's participation in the conspiracy in cases where the government relies primarily on the declaration of a co-conspirator to show this element. So a party claiming a conspiracy must establish it by a preponderance of the evidence. Our Georgia Supreme Court has remarked, we apply a liberal standard in determining whether a statement is made in furtherance of a conspiracy, and statements that further the interests of the conspiracy in some way meet this standard, and that is Downer versus the state, 314 Georgia 617, and that is a 2022 case. And in furthering the conspiracy, a declaration must be made in furtherance of the conspiracy where the elements are proved. Courts are not reluctant to admit declarations of one conspirator as evidence against another. And then it has several federal courts apply a liberal standard in determining whether a statement is made in furtherance of a conspiracy, including our 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. That's United States versus Steigman. It's SIEGELMAN, and that's 6-4. I'm sorry, wrong citation. I apologize. No, that's the same. It is Siegelman, and it's 640 F 3rd 1159 11th Circuit 2011. And then statements which advance the objects of the conspiracy fall within the rule. And this has been held to even include statements of if uttered by an outsider, if the statement is designed to help the co-conspirators achieve their goal. So part of what we've been discussing, or that has been objected to very vehemently on behalf of the defendants, but the court wanted you all to acknowledge, this, that at this point in time, this court is of the opinion that I'm sure over your objections that the state has in fact proved that there is a conspiracy by preponderance of the evidence at this point in time. And whether or not the jury believes that is another thing, but for the purposes of these statements, and I'll take them on an individual basis, of course, but those would be relative to what the court's considering this afternoon. So assuming that there's a foundation, which the court will continue to look at, and assuming that depending upon what the state's offering the statement for, whether or not it's a statement against interest or a co-conspirator statement, I just wanted you all to know that that's where the court has studied and considered this particular issue, but we have taken it up about 3 or 4 times, and I just wanted to kind of make sure that you understood that I understand where you all are, but understand that that's what the court's basing its ruling on. Mr. Steele, you want to add anything? Because we've covered Mr. Winfrey's jail calls already, but what else you want to add?
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon,
everyone. 2 things. I know I don't represent Mr. Huey or Mr. Nichols, but I presume that the state hasn't come close, this is how I look at it, to proving any type of conspiracy with them, but you included everyone, so I'm going to make the argument for everyone, but I just wanted to say that. In paragraph 51 of motion to limit number 51, paragraph number 4, excuse me.
Without waiving any objection?
One more time?
Without waiving any objection, I'm looking at it right now. I have a copy of it.
Yes, sir. So what happens in those 2 minutes and 37 seconds of that call, October 22, 2015, it's not been played yet. State put us on notice of it, and I've objected to it on Friday when I got the state's 7 calls. This is not, so I don't know who the speaker is. So the speaker is clearly speaking with a person identified on the call as Mr. Winfrey. Mr. Winfrey's in custody, that's why the call is recorded. The unknown speaker says, pursuant to another unknown person, Mr. Winfrey will receive a Porsche vehicle when he is released from custody. That's what I've objected to. So as you say, I don't disagree with anything the court said about the test. The declarant is not on the call. The declarant is an unknown person. The person on the call is unknown. So I don't know how that is a co-conspirator statement of a third party. It's double hearsay. That's what I wanted to bring to your attention in motion limit number 5-1.
All right, I'll let the state respond to that.
Thank you, sir.
Because we did cover Cantwell a couple days ago in regards to non-party statements are admissible, and that was at 664F 4th 396 in terms of these other parties or unknown parties that are speaking to provide context. So I understand that you're asking it's considered hearsay. I've considered that, but this would be an exception to that.
And the context is always like if the Honorable Mr. Matthews said to me, how much money do I bring to the drug deal? And my response was, bring $500. My response would make no sense unless Mr. Matthews is not involved in the conspiracy, he's working with the government or whatever.
Understand.
That would make sense. But here it is the person on the recording saying that another person, I don't know who these people are, Your Honor. Another person said that there'll be a Porsche vehicle given to Mr. Winfrey. So the context is really not anything here. The substance of the statement comes from a double hearsay declarant. That was why I brought it to your attention.
Okay.
Understanding, and honoring, but not waiving. That's why.
Yeah, I understand, because you're saying it's hearsay, and then the state's saying, well, it's not. It's an exception to that being its co-conspiracy.
But we'd like you to decide it.
I'm sorry.
We'd like you to decide it.
Yes. Okay. All right. State.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, consistent with what the court just spoke about regarding the law and co-conspirator, this particular statement is furthering.
Which one? Be specific. Which one are you talking
The
about?
statement.
Winfrey phone calls
The Winfrey phone calls.
Or the Instagram.
No, we'll talk about the Winfrey phone calls first, Your Honor.
Okay.
The
All right.
Winfrey call, which is this call that's about 2 minutes, in which the unidentified declarant is an unidentified co-conspirator, because in that statement, what the declarant says is, we'll sit down for $250,000 in a Porsche. And Mr. Winfrey doesn't say no. He doesn't say anything. He says, okay, that's my boy. That's my boy. My boy ain't never changed. And so, Your Honor, that statement is furthering the conspiracy as far as concealing what occurred in the conspiracy, which is we will sit down, we will be quiet, we will not say anything for this amount of money. Now, whether or not that happened or not, whether or not he got paid, whether or not he got the Porsche is of no consequence. But this conversation here shows that there's a covering up of the conspiracy, that conspiracy being one, the gang, and conspiracy two being the actual shooting of the bus, Your Honor. And so we believe that this would fall under the co-conspirator hearsay exception.
Unit, are you going to identify the speakers on the call?
We'll identify Mr. Winfrey. I believe the person he's speaking to is Shad, who is mentioned in other calls as well.
All right. Okay.
But that's the only identifier that we know is his name is Shad.
All right. Sir, Mr. Harvey.
I want to make sure we're making the appropriate distinctions here with regard to, and I understand the court's ruling, but I want to make sure that I get on record what I think are critical distinctions. Let's go back to when the court said, state, give us all your 801D2E statements that you're going to use during the trial of the, so that we can take these issues up now and not during the trial, just like we're doing. So number one, I do want to say that these alleged 801D2E, and I'm not agreeing that they are, statements that are now being proffered were not provided to us, and we didn't have an opportunity to litigate them pre-trial. And now we're doing exactly what the court didn't want us to do, number one. Number two, we're also talking about a confrontation clause problem because we have, for example, the pleas of guilty, admissions by co-defendants that are coming in that we cannot cross-examine. For example, precisely the ones that we are talking about now. Mr. Murphy, we know that beyond the hearsay argument, Judge, there is a confrontation clause argument.
Have you taken a look at U.S. versus Thompson? That is, that is 568 F APPX 812 11th Circuit 2014. And it talks about the right of a defendant to confront accusers. Thompson seems to indicate no, but I understand your point. I understand your point. I do.
But there's an 801D2E right of confrontation. There's an admission of a co-conspirator, an admission of theirs, or a confession of theirs that we can't confront that presents a different problem, like a plea of guilty. We argued that with regard to Jefferson, and I think Jefferson versus the state is clear. So I want to make the distinction, state versus Jefferson, and I want to make the distinction because it comes in under a hearsay exception does not resolve the confrontation issue. And Mr. Nichols does not waive that confrontation issue, even if you find that it's a co-conspirator statement.
801D2E statements are not considered to be hearsay. They are, they're not.
I understand.
Okay, I just want to clarify. That's all.
I understand
Okay.
that.
All right.
And I want to make the distinction that because it comes in, there is a class of evidence that comes in under 801D2E. There's a class of evidence that comes in as admissions of party opponents. Those are subject to the confrontation clause, and we need to make that distinction.
Okay, and when I charge the jury, when I get down to that, yes, that will be a jury charge that I will probably need to hash out. But at this point in time, they're admissible for, as a threshold matter, and the jury can weigh them as they see fit.
Okay. Well, admissions, I don't think are admissible at this particular point against Mr. Nichols.
Okay, but that's your
Yes. And I want to make sure
that is your position at this point in time, and that has not changed. And I certainly acknowledge that, sir, and will continue to mark that objection for you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Unless there's anything else, I'm going to call for our jurors, okay?
No, I was going to say, in relation to the hearsay statements on the Instagram records, Your Honor, the state did redact any of the commentary that was on the bottom. We did keep what we believe Mr. Williams would have posted himself because it's his Instagram, but the commentary that's on below that we did redact, and I can show that to Mr. Steele prior to
All right.
that being, and I can show it to him now.
Do you want to show it to him now then?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Sir.
did you rule upon paragraph 4 of Mr. Williams' motion limiting number 51? What I just argued about the portion?
I'm going to overrule your objection, sir.
Does it have a continuing?
Yes, you may have a continuing objection. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. You want to take a look at these Instagram postings? Ms. Hilton, anything else, madam?
I'm sorry, no, you're right.
Okay. Anything else, folks? All right. Debbie Ham, can you summon our jurors for us, please? All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, can we bring in our witness too, please? Where are you going, man? Where are you going? I'm gonna leave these in here until it's time. Debbie Ham, all our jurors present, sir. All right, thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, jury, good afternoon. All right, Agent Racy, you're still under oath, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. You may continue your examination when ready, madam.
Good afternoon, Agent Racy. How are you?
Good afternoon. Doing well.
Okay. I think we're trying to make sure we have access to the Zoom. I'm gonna go back to something we talked about yesterday. The vehicle,
Say again, sir.
I want to go back into something we talked about yesterday. The white Camaro, what type of, I don't know what the proper term, the transmission was it?
It was a stick shift or manual.
And did you observe that when you searched the car?
Yes.
And are we ready? And once we get ready, we're going to start with the call that was on October 22nd. Mr. Kearns, can you let Ms. Knight in? Well, while we're waiting for that, let me do this. You want permission to approach? Oh,
You may.
excerpts from the record. No, so I started with this page, so. Agent Race, I want to show you what's been first marked as State's Exhibit 134C. Tell me if you recognize State's Exhibit 134, Echo Charlie.
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize Exhibit 130? How do you recognize Exhibit 134 Echo Charlie?
So this is going to be AT&T records for the cell phone or the phone number 404-583-1990. So this is the response from the provider from our search warrant.
And is that just 4 pages of an excerpt from the full response?
That looks like 8 pages.
Okay.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
what are the page numbers of the excerpt?
It looks like 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, and 1009.
Okay. And does that appear to be a fair and accurate depiction of an excerpt of the return for that phone number that you received back in 2015?
It does.
You're right. This time the state would like to send the State's Exhibit 134 Echo Charlie.
Any further objection to States 134 Echo Charlie?
Your Honor, I don't have an objection. I'd like the entire record for the return, but I don't object to the state using those numbers. But I think it should come in as a whole, and then parties can use sections.
You're right. I have a response. The entire record is in. We introduced the entire record yesterday.
Then I don't have an objection.
All right, States 1, anybody else? Do you have a separate objection, sir? I do. Okay.
May I review my continuing objection? But as far as I understand,
Hey, microphone, sir.
as far as I understand, these are records of a non-co-conspirator and someone that has not been identified as a uncharged co-conspirator, and therefore I certainly would object to them being admitted against Mr. Nichols.
All right, your objection is noted for the record. All right? And overruled. All right, I'm going to admit 134 Echo.
Okay. Next, we have State's Exhibit 135 Echo Charlie. Take a look at State's Exhibit 135 Echo Charlie and tell me if you recognize State's Exhibit 135 Echo Charlie.
Yes.
And how do you recognize Exhibit 135 Echo Charlie?
So this is going to be an excerpt, it looks like, out of the Sprint response for a cell phone number, or presumably a cell phone number of 504-319-2920.
And does that appear to be a fair and accurate printout of portions of that record that was introduced yesterday?
Yes.
And what are the pages of this excerpt?
It looks like 170, 171, 172, 173, 174, 175, 176, 177, 178, 179, 180, and 181. So 170 through 181.
Your Honor, this time to say we're like the,
I'm sorry. There's another one there. 182. So correct myself. 182.
Your Honor, this time to stay with like the tender states Exhibit 135 Echo Charlie into evidence.
Any further objections to states 135 Echo Charlie?
No.
Same, continuing objection noted, sir.
No, sir. And I heard I was just returning the entire return is in, and then I don't have an objection to report.
Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
And then last, States Exhibit 138 Echo Charlie. If you can take a moment and flip through States Exhibit 138 Echo Charlie.
Okay.
And do you recognize States Exhibit 138 Echo Charlie?
I do.
And how do you recognize States Exhibit 138 Echo Charlie?
So this is going to be an excerpt from, ultimately it's AT&T, but it's a Cricket cell phone that AT&T is the larger company of. And it's for target number 678-815-5790.
And does that appear to be a fair and accurate depiction of the excerpt of the full return that you received back in 2015?
Yes,
And is that the same return that we entered into evidence yesterday?
it appears to be so.
And what are the pages of this excerpt?
411, 412, 413, and 414.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to tender States Exhibit 138 Echo Charlie into evidence.
Any further objection, counsels?
No, I heard the same. I understand it's the same way, so no objection.
All right, okay. It's admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, looking at the screen, what is the date of this call?
October 22nd, 2015.
And we can go ahead and publish.
This is a Global Tel-Link prepaid call from
It's me.
an inmate at the Cobb County Adult Detention Facility. This call will be recorded and monitored. Your ITS account balance is $29.69. If you have questions or complaints about this call, please call customer service at 1-800-231-0193. To hear the cost of this call, press 8 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. This is a Global Tel-Link prepaid call from
It's me.
your ITS account balance is $29.69. Complaints about this call, please call customer service at 1-800-231-0193. To hear the cost of this call, press 8 now. To accept this call,
Yo,
Dion went out like radio. Hello.
yeah.
Yeah. Where's Shaw at?
Hold on, I'm finna call him back.
What did he was telling me, Shaw?
Man, he won't tell no shit. He just he said when you get out, you gonna have a Porsche.
Yeah, time to give it to you.
Nah, he told me you do that. You know you don't do that, man.
Yeah, he ain't the man.
You don't, nah, you don't get your work, man.
You ain't got no choice. Hey, man, like what Bobby said, you better guard your crib.
Yeah, we'll sit down for a couple of months for a portion in $250,000.
Hey, come on. Hey, my boy ain't changed now. Hey, we'll see ya. Hey, man.
So like that, it's the fan, I don't know how you need to get out.
Huh? Hey, come on. Call.
Now, do you remember what time that call was on October 22nd?
It was 21:33, so 9:33 at night.
And was this call made on Mr. Winfrey's PIN?
No, it was not.
How were you able to find this call?
By doing basically kind of like a reverse search, basically giving the phone numbers that I had previously observed Mr. Winfrey calling to the custodian of records at Cobb County and having them query those phone numbers in their system. So then in doing so, I could see that basically these calls were listed from Winfrey, and then all of a sudden there's a couple calls to that same phone number in another inmate's name. And so I requested those and received those.
And the phone number that you queried, did you have a name associated with that phone number?
I likely did. I need to check the report if you don't mind to refresh my memory.
We're looking at your report, help refresh your memory.
It would.
We're looking at Exhibit 171, Echo, help refresh your memory. It should be right in front of you.
Yes, my report, yes.
And directing you to page 183.
Okay, yes.
Who was is your memory refreshed?
Yes, yeah. Are you going to want me to memorize that phone number to repeat it for the record?
No,
Okay.
just the name that was associated with the number.
I put it as Shad, or I think we heard Rashad or Shad, something to that effect. I put Shad in my report.
And in listening to the previous jail calls that we listed yesterday, was that name Shad familiar to you, given some of the other calls?
I'll sustain the objection, Mr. Form. You can rephrase.
Had you heard the name Shad prior to listening to this call?
Yes,
Where?
on other jail calls.
Were those jail calls we heard yesterday?
Those are some of them, yes.
In your review of the jail calls, did you hear more calls with this individual by the name of Shad?
Yes, that's correct, yes.
Now, why was this call significant to you?
I heard a money value and a valuable car being discussed in it.
What was the money value you heard?
$250,000, 250,000.
And what was said about the $250,000, 250,000?
Basically, when he gets out, he'll have a Porsche purchased for him and $250,000.
Now, was that Winfrey who said it, or was that Shad who said that to him?
Shad that said that to Winfrey.
Now, sitting here right now, do you know if Jimmy Winfrey was ever paid $250,000?
I don't know that.
Do you know if he ever received a Porsche?
I don't know that.
Sitting here now, do you know if he ever received any compensation?
I don't know that information.
Was there anything else of significance to you regarding this phone call?
I mean, the fact that he was using someone else's PIN, so it was something that was at least being attempted to be concealed through his own PIN number.
I'll overrule the objection.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That there's my interpretation was there's a reason why it was used on.
I'll sustain Mr. Form.
What was your interpretation of him calling under a different PIN number?
Overrule, sir.
There's a reason why it was not on his PIN number.
As it relates to this case, do you know if Jimmy Winfrey ever took a plea in this case?
He did.
In relation to this phone call, how much time passed before he took a plea?
It was approximately a month later, or maybe a month and a day, but a month later.
Sir, do you have an objection? Yes.
Soon after, not soon, he put after you heard the call.
Yes.
When was that?
So this jail phone call was October, so it would have been like November, maybe 23rd, something like that.
Of 2015?
2015.
Now, did you learn that Mr. Winfrey had to, that something occurred, he had to take another week
Yes.
on the same case?
Same case, yes.
When did that occur?
That was like at least the following year. It was sometime after that. Yeah, probably sometime after that, like the next year. It definitely wasn't 2015.
Sorry. Now, did you ever obtain medical records in this case?
We did.
Why did you obtain medical records?
There was a discussion in reference to a possible defense.
Objection, hearsay, application card. Talk about this.
Did you hear?
I'll sustain the objection. Other grounds you can rephrase.
Did you ever hear Mr. Winfrey himself in any of your jail calls speak about an injury?
Yes.
What injury?
To hands.
And why did you get the medical records?
We wanted to know the extent of the injury per the medical records.
And did you obtain those medical records?
I did.
Did you find anything that assists you in your investigation as related?
Your Honor, that would be hearsay. I agree, that was my objection. The medical records, state response?
I hadn't finished the question yet. Was there anything significant in the records that assisted with your investigation?
Objection, Your Honor.
He's talking about.
Total on both Mr. Steele and Mr. Matthews.
Nothing that would change our investigation.
Okay, thank you. Now, as relates to this case, did you have an opportunity to analyze specific cell phones to include the phone ending in 3383, 5790, 2920, and 1990?
Yes.
And did you have an opportunity to kind of synthesize those phone records and do a phone analysis?
Yes.
What type of phone analysis did you do regarding those records?
So basically the communication of those phones to each other in and around the time, like a 4-hour-ish time frame around the time of our incident.
Okay. You're on permission to approach?
You may.
Thank you. I'm going to first show you what the market station did at 139E.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize it at 139?
I do.
And how do you recognize it at 139?
So this is the phone records, but it's kind of just been made prettier, I guess I would say, just for ease of looking versus at an Excel document or at a Word document.
And is that section 139E the compilation or the synthesis of the records that we just discussed?
Yes, ma'am.
And are those the records contained in State's Exhibits
Oh, you're fine.
133 Echo, 134 Echo, 135 Echo, and 136 Echo?
Correct.
And does that appear to be a fair and demonstrative of the analysis that you did as it relates to those phones?
Yes, according to my review, yes.
Now, I want you to look at State's Exhibit first, 139 Echo. I don't know what that is, right?
Foxtrot.
Okay,
Foxtrot.
Foxtrot. What is State's Exhibit 139 Echo Foxtrot?
So that's just I'm sorry.
Is it Fox or Foxtrot? Foxtrot, okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, so that's just gonna be the phone numbers just kind of placed out so we can look at it, and then the known subscriber information to, as we know it from the records.
And looking at State's Exhibit 139, Echo Alpha, Echo Bravo, Echo Charlie, Echo Delta, and Echo Echo. Does this appear to be a blown up version or a larger version, excuse me, of what's contained in State's Exhibit 139 Echo?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to tender State's Exhibit 139 Echo and 139 Echo Foxtrot, 139 Echo Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo into evidence as a demonstrative.
Any objections to, further objections to states, 139 Echo Alpha, Echo Bravo, Echo Charlie, Echo Delta, and Echo Echo.
I don't object.
Echo Foxtrot.
Sorry, I don't object. I understand continuation, but I don't object or demonstrative, otherwise I do object it. So
Okay, well, that's later. For demonstrative purposes, you have no objection?
correct.
Okay, all right. There it is.
Thank you.
For demonstrative purposes only.
First, looking at State's Exhibit 139 Echo Foxtrot. Just explain to the jury what's on State's Exhibit 139 Echo Foxtrot.
So this is kind of like what was handwritten on the board yesterday. These are the phone numbers that were frequent calls for the time of the incident. And then as we can see, they're color coded. And then the name that was listed on the phone records is put in on some of those phone numbers or associated with some of those phone numbers.
And again, for 404-583-1990, which exhibit was 404-583-1990?
So that's going to be 134 Echo Charlie was the broken down smaller excerpt.
And for the 504-319-2920, what was the exhibit number for 504-319-2920?
The 135 Echo Charlie is the snippet portion, not the full records.
And for the 404-664-3383, what was that exhibit?
So that's going to be the 133 Echo Charlie. I believe that's going to be the full records.
What is 678-353-9229?
Okay. So that's going to be the 136 Echo Alpha is the disc with those full records.
And then for the 678-815-5790, what's the exhibit number there?
So the excerpt one, just a couple of pages one, is going to be the 138 Echo Charlie.
Now, when you did your analysis, when did you start your analysis from?
The time period?
Yes.
So from about 10 p.m. To about, let's say 4 a.m., just kind of what was leading up to the time of the incident and then just after the incident. So like a 4-hour window.
And is that 10 p.m. on April 25th?
Correct.
And is that of 2015?
Yes.
And is that leading up until about 4 a.m. on, what is the date of the times you're referencing?
So April 25th, 10 p.m. to about April 26th at 4 a.m. So that's a 6-hour window. I'm sorry, my apologies, but yes.
And if you can just kind of walk the jury through what we're seeing in first 139 Echo Alpha. Just tell us who's calling who and what we're seeing here.
Yes. I'm gonna leave the mic.
Please don't roll off.
Okay, so on this first page, what we're seeing is kind of just speaking the last four. The 2200, that's going to be 10 p.m., but the 9596, it's an outgoing call to the 1990 phone number. So if we obviously come down here and look at the our little chart here, so we have this unknown caller calling in to the 1990, which is the YSL Enterprise. Again, we have the same thing just a minute later. We see a 0-second duration, so that means like no one picked up. And then the next call, just a minute later, we have the same numbers involved, outgoing to incoming, and then 40 seconds. So there was actually contact made on that record. Next to the third one down, we see 1990. So now 1990 is calling out just.
I object to, so we know that there was contact. We know that it's.
What's the basis for that, sir? What's the basis for your objection?
The agent said 40 seconds, so we know that there's contact made.
I'm going to object. This is speculation, Your Honor.
Hold on a second.
And let me ask you this. When it comes to the record of 1990, as far as how the record is formed, what time zone is the record in for 1990?
Okay, so 1990, the way we get it from AT&T, it's UTC, Universal Time Coordinated. So GMT, it's also referred to. So basically, their records go off Greenwich Mean Time, which is in London. And so you have to do math from what the records are back to our time zone in Eastern time zone here. It depends on the time of the year, daylight savings, or not daylight savings. For this time of the year, it's -4. So what that means, these records, you have to subtract 4 hours to equal Eastern time. That's the way AT&T does it. Other providers will do the conversion and give you the records in our time as they are. So when you get the records back, you have to make note of that. You have to know that. So yes.
Before you go on, ladies and gentlemen, I've had a request that we need to take a comfort break. So please forgive us. We're going to go ahead and take a 10-minute comfort break, and then we'll go ahead and resume our examination. So at this point in time, all rise. All right, our jury has left us. Sir, you can take a 10-minute recess. We'll see you back.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. All right, whoever needs to use the facilities can go. witness, please. All right, Sergeant Ingram, summon our jurors, please. While he's doing that, counsels, this is just for you all, for your benefit. Just as a reminder, please do not object until the full question has been posited. That is a continuing request from Ms. Weaver. And she has told you, and I'll just reiterate, that she cannot take and make the best record that she can make unless you do that. So please wait till the question's fully posited before you pose an objection. Don't cut off each other. All right? Okay. That was a paid public announcement. All right, thank you, Sergeant Ingram. All right, Ms. Hilton, you may continue with your examination.
So I think when we got involved, you were speaking about the UTC time and having to convert it.
Yes. So UTC is Universal Time Coordinated. So GMT is the same thing. Zulu time in the military is the same thing. Basically, it's the way that everyone in the globe can tell when something happened at the same time is the concept. So because that is basically the standard, UTC is the standard, we're in Eastern time zone here in Atlanta. Not to confuse it, but if it's daylight savings or not, you're either subtracting 4 because you're going 4 time zones back from that UTC line, or you're subtracting 5. Based off the date, we subtract 4 on this incident. So on some records, when you look at the records, it'll say UTC. So on those records, we would have to minus 4 if you're doing this manually. If you're putting it into software that's doing it, the software knows that and the software does it. That's why we have the software to confirm what we're doing manually. Some records come in when you request it from that service provider, they will do the conversion for you and they'll give it to you in the time zone you request it in. But that conversion has been done in these demonstratives. That conversion's already done. So we're looking at the correct time for Eastern time in these demonstratives.
And just for an example, if this 1990 number is an outgoing call at 29 seconds here, what time would it be reflected in the record?
So that's not 29 seconds, that's 0029. So that's midnight. So it's 12:29. Military time, it's 0029. So in that time, if we're seeing 0029 there, that's converted. If that was originally UTC, which it was, we would plus 4 to that number. So in the records, it would show 0429 in the records because it's AT&T. We do the conversion back, minus 4, it equals 0029 to keep it all consistent right there.
And what I'm going to have you do, you're on permission for Agent Racy to step down.
You may step down.
Okay. And if you take that pointer. Now, I believe we were still at the April 25th dates. If you can just go through, let's start with April 25th, who's calling who, what phone numbers is making contact with another phone number.
Okay, so again, green, so we look down here, it's green, so we don't know who the subscriber is at this point in time. And it's at 22:04, so that's 10:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then it's calling 1990 and 0 seconds did not connect. Outgoing 22:05, so 1 minute after at 10:05 p.m. Outgoing to incoming 1990, 40 seconds. There was a 40-second connection between the phones where, based off the records, there's communication for 40 seconds based off the records.
And let me ask you this, the time on the board, is at the time the call starts? Because some of them
Correct. If you went on further, yes, correct. So the next one is 23:06, so 11:06, 1990 is now calling 3383. So again, we check who's 1990, check who's red, who's 3383, and we look and we see, so it's outgoing from what we have as YSL to incoming, which we have Jimmy Winfrey, and that lasted 2 seconds. There was a connection for 2 seconds.
All right. Now, starting on April 26, 2015, what the demonstrative tell us? What's the truth?
So we have outgoing from 1990. So again, checking our, kind of like our little index here, our cheat sheet key, whatever you want to call it. We have YSL Enterprises calling 3904, which again, we don't have the subscriber data off of cell phone records at that point in time, and it was 0 second connection. So again, continuing down, we have red, so 3383, which has Jimmy Winfrey calling at 1240, 00440, calling 1990, YSL, 0 seconds, no connection. Outgoing, 1990, 0043 hours, so 1243, calling what we have is Jimmy Winfrey, 2 second connection. And just continuing down, 0044 hours, what we have is Winfrey calling YSL, 0 second connection. And you may just continue.
And let me ask you this, for the rest of this demonstrative, is it the Jimmy Winfrey phone calling the YSL phone back up at least until 1:07 a.m.?
Correct. It's back and forth, and then obviously we see the duration of calls there, right? Thank you.
Now, same thing. If you can just kind of walk through, what do we see on State's Exhibit 139 Echo Bravo?
So again, we have the blue. Check down what we have blue for 9229. It's the phone that we identified by the subscriber information as a KYBE. So this is at 1:13 in the morning. That's easy conversion from military to or 24 hours in a day to 12 hours. But that's 1:13 calling 1990 for 4 second duration of the phone call.
And one's at 1:13 in the morning.
1:13 in the morning, yes, ma'am.
And Kai B, did we identify the name of the person with the Kai B?
I believe we did. I have to go look at the records, but I believe we did.
Was that the number given to you by Investigator Gaither?
Yes. So that's Dominican Garland. Then thank you.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so we're on number 2. We have 113. We have green. Again, we don't know, calling 1990. So that's YSL Enterprises. And then 114, 1993. I'm sorry, we just did that one. That's my mistake. 43 seconds. Going down here, we have YSL calling what we have identified as Jimmy Winfrey at 1:15 a.m. for 8 second duration. We then have YSL at 1:16 calling the 95, 96, 247 seconds. So 60 seconds a minute. You can do the conversion in your head, whatever it is, 4 minutes, whatever that conversion comes out to be.
So about 4 minutes and 7 seconds?
Something to that effect, yes. And then here we have 1990. Again, it's 1:39. And then we have it going to the 95, 96, 13 second connection there. And then we go down to what we have as Kai B, the Dominican Garlington phone. It's 2:32 hours calling YSL, 0-second connection. And then we have YSL at 2:33 calling 6080 for 71 seconds. We don't have the subscriber information at this point. Again, then we have this number unknown, 6080, calling back at 2:35, calling back to the YSL number. That's a 177-second connection that we have there. So again, do the math, 60 seconds. So 2.5 minutes, whatever that math real quick in the head works out to be. Kai B, so Dominican Garlington, 2:38. It's the 9229 phone number calling YSL. Again, 42 seconds, so a little over half a minute. And then we have the 5726 at 2:44 calling YSL, 18-second connection on that one.
Now looking at State's Exhibit 139, Echo Charlie.
So same thing, 2:45, YSL calling 3383 at 2:45, 15 seconds. So YSL calling Jimmy Winfrey, 2:45. And then we now have 2:48, Jimmy Winfrey contacting back to YSL, 22 seconds. We have Jimmy Winfrey at 2:49 calling YSL Enterprises back at 2:49 a.m. for 28 seconds. Again, repeating 2:57 in the morning, Jimmy Winfrey calling YSL 26 seconds, and then coming down again. So we have the 5726 phone number, which we don't have the subscriber information for, trying to call YSL Enterprises at 2:58, 0 seconds. YSL now at 3:02, calling what we have is 3383. So this is Jimmy Winfrey, 3:02 in the morning for 2-second duration. We now have Jimmy Winfrey at 3:03, calling back YSL for 3 seconds. 3:03 again, Jimmy Winfrey again calling YSL, 9-second connection there. So we're getting down to 3:07 a.m. YSL is now calling the 5790. 5790 is who we have identified as YSL Duke. So for 3 seconds, continuing down, we have 1990 YSL again at 3:07, calling YSL Duke for another 3-second connection. 3:08, YSL calling Jimmy Winfrey for 3-second duration of the phone call.
Now looking at 139, Echo Delta. Yes, please.
So we have 1990, which is YSL at 3:08, calling Jimmy Winfrey, 83-second phone call. 0314 hours, we have YSL calling Jimmy Winfrey, 17 seconds.
And what time did the phone call come in for the 911 call?
The 911 phone call reporting the shooting came into Cobb County Dispatch at 0314 hours.
Okay. What do you have next?
We have Jimmy Winfrey now calling YSL Enterprises at 3:15, a 25-second duration phone call. I skipped the duration, I think, on those, but as we can see, 83 seconds for the first one, 17 seconds, 25 seconds. And then we come down to 3:17 a.m. We have the 2920 number calling Jimmy Winfrey, and this is a 536-second connection. Looking down at our chart, Who is 2920? That is the phone that we have identified as Cash Money, who's
Did we identify it with a person, best center
identified
records?
with a person, Brian Williams' phone, as Cash Money. So Brian Williams' Cash Money is calling Jimmy Winfrey, incoming phone call to Jimmy Winfrey at 3:17 for 536 seconds. We then have another incoming call from, again, Cash Money, Brian Williams, at 3:26 a.m. coming in to Jimmy Winfrey for a 5-second phone call. We then have 3:36 a.m. Jimmy Winfrey now goes an outgoing call to incoming Brian Williams Cash Money Records at 3:36 for 25 seconds.
Right.
And then continue on, man.
Yes.
So at 3:37, we have 5726, again, checking our key. No subscriber information, calling 1990, which is YSL, 0-second connection. 3:38, we have YSL calling the 5726, no subscriber information. 3-second duration. We then have YSL at 3:53 calling 5790. So 5790 is going to be YSL Duke. 0-second connection. We have 1990 YSL at 3:53 calling again YSL Duke, 0-second connection. We then have YSL Enterprises 619 calling YSL Duke for 4-second connection.
And is that 6:19 in the morning?
That is 6:19 in the morning, yes, ma'am.
For our last port, 139 Echo Echo. Let me just ask you here generally, is this the 1990 YSL Enterprise phone calling the YSL Duke phone from about 6:19?
Basis. I stand the objection. You can rephrase.
Is the YSL phone calling is the YSL Enterprise phone calling the YSL Duke phone?
Yes.
And what are the times that the YSL phone is calling the YSL Enterprise phone calling the YSL Duke phone?
6:19 a.m., 6:19 a.m., 6:44 a.m., 6:44 a.m., 15:56. So the conversion is 3:56 p.m., 3:56 p.m., 18:57. So -2. So that's 6:56 p.m., 27 seconds, 18:56. So same, 6:56 p.m. for 27 seconds.
Okay. And does that appear to be a duplicative of this call here? Both 18:56 and 27 seconds?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right. Now, as it relates to, let me ask first, the YSL Duke phone, were you able to plot or determine where the YSL Duke phone was?
No, YSL Duke.
You haven't seen. And why is it?
The YSL Duke phone number, I only sent a grand jury subpoena to that phone number, which means I did not get historical cell site data. I did not get location data through that. So I didn't have historical cell site data to place the YSL Duke phone number.
What about the 1990 number? Were you able to plot or know where the 1990 number was during this duration?
Yes, I received the cell site data for the 1990 phone number.
And did you receive that from AT&T in 2015?
Yes, correct.
And
Have you shown the documents to the defense counsel? You may, ma'am.
I'm gonna show you what's the mark, the 60172 Echo. You recognize this is the 172 Echo.
I do.
And how do you recognize this is the 172?
These are the notes that I made this morning in reference to the location information.
And is this the same location information that's contained within the excerpt in the 134 Echo chart?
That's correct. That's where I got it from.
Okay. And did you just say, what did you do in order to create that?
Basically, I just used a snippet tool, a line off of the records, and then copied it on a Word document. And then I took the Latin long, the latitude and longitude that was provided by AT&T in their records and threw it into Google Maps. And it dropped a pin. And then I just snippet, basically, the Google Maps with the pin location. And then I just put that picture in the Word document, and then basically created notes that I could see what Latin long and a visual aid for myself with a pin dropped.
And will that assist you in telling me where that phone was, that 1990 phone was on between April 25th and April 26th, 2019?
Yes, absolutely.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would like to tender Stacy Exhibit 172E as a demonstrative.
Any objection to states on 171 Echo as a demonstrative?
172 Echo.
172 Echo as a demonstrative? Mr. Sharp? Microphone, sir.
I do object.
Basis.
The demonstrative is not what the detective purports it to be. I can approach to explain.
I don't think that's a valid objection at this point in time. I'll just
Well,
overrule
it
it.
would be lack of authentication.
Overrule, sir. Overruled. All right, on 172 Echoes admitted over objection may be published as you see fit as a demonstrative only.
Thank you, Your Honor. Our previous objection about no qualification.
I still note, yes, sir, noted. and continuing. All right?
So what was that agent telling me where that phone was at certain times throughout that evening and morning?
Yes.
Starting with the first location plot, what was the time that you plotted?
So I took just a snippet. So it has 01:58. Again, that's UTC time. So that's, you have to do the minus 4 hours. So that's going to place us at 9:58 p.m.
Okay.
on the 25th. So you have to roll back because that's placing us the day before.
Oh, sorry.
You said turned off? Okay. Okay, now it's off. Yeah.
Roughly, where was the general location, general address for that number at that time?
So generally speaking, it's just a little bit north of the I-75, I-85 split on the bottom side of Atlanta. So it's, if we were looking at a clock, it's 6 o'clock, meaning down, straight down from the center of Atlanta where the connector is, just north of the split, the 75-85 split.
Okay.
I can give you the latitude and longitude, and then that's going to be of the cell tower.
Your Honor,
Sir.
I'm good.
What, you have an objection?
Yes,
Basis.
403, confusing the jury, and we're getting to the point of my objection.
Okay,
We're talking about cell towers.
okay, yeah, I got your objection. I'll rule your objection, note it for the record, sir.
We don't need to let long. Do you have know what phone numbers you were connected to at that time?
Yes.
Okay. What number is that?
So it's the originating number is going to be the 1990. The number that it's calling is going to be 404-426-6263.
Okay. What's the next time that you plotted?
So it's going to be 02:05 hours on the 26th. Again, the conversion to 4:25:15 is going to place us at 10:05 p.m.
And where is the general area of that phone?
Okay, generally, it's the same. It's in the area of Metropolitan Parkway.
So that different from the I-75, I-85?
Yes, it's just slightly north of that.
Okay. And what's the phone number?
So this is going to be the originating phone number is 504-346-9596, and it's calling our 1990 YSL phone.
Okay. What's the next time that you plotted?
So I jumped closer to the further up in time.
Okay.
So it's 03:04. So subtract 4. Again, that's the 26. So subtract 4 puts us at 11:04 p.m. on the 25th.
Where's the general area of that?
It's downtown Atlanta, generally where we are now, just kind of like in the heart of Atlanta, near it's west of the Grady Curve.
And what's the phone number being contacted?
So 1990 is contacting 404-798 8491.
8491.
Correct.
Okay. What's the next location?
So I jumped ahead an hour again. So this is 0406 on 4/26/15. So that's easy conversion minus 4. It puts us at midnight, just inside the night of the 26th. So 12:06 a.m. on the 26th.
Okay. Where is the general area of that call?
We go back to our almost first location. So the I-75, I-85 split just north of that area.
Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Weinstein, you have an objection?
Yeah, I do have.
Basis.
I do have an objection. It calls for speculation as far as area of the call. He knows where the cell tower is.
Okay,
but not the call.
speculation is your objection, not the rest of the speaking. I'm gonna overrule the objection, sir.
And let me ask you this: with cell phone towers, does it give you an exact pinpoint or a radius or area?
So in these records, this is a location of the tower. So we just have a radius. But going off this, we just have.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Basis.
He's raising objection. Again, it's calling for expert testimony.
I would agree
He's
with
not
that.
an expert.
I'll sustain the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, disregard the last statement of our witness.
Your Honor, I would, without that explanation, I would move to strike his entire.
I just said, jurors to disregard the last statement.
And I would move to strike the previous testimony because.
Overrule, sir. Thank you.
All right. So you said I-75, 85, just north of the split.
Correct.
And what is the phone number that's being called?
So the 1990 is calling 404-798-8491.
All right. What's the next time?
Okay, so I just jumped ahead another hour. So it's 4:26 at 0513. So doing the conversion, it's 1:13 on the 26th.
So it was 0426 to 0513, just 0513.
0513, now converting it, it's 1:13 Eastern Standard Time.
And where's this phone? Where did you pop this phone at? Call at.
Similar to,
Calls for speculation.
I stand the objection.
Where did you plot?
similar to the last location, just slightly south of the last location. So the I-75-85 split just south of that.
And what's the number being contacted?
The originating number is 404-426-6263, and that's calling our YSL 1990 phone.
What is the next time?
It's the same time, 0513. And so that's 1:13 in the morning, correct?
What area did you plot?
Just south of what's known as the Grady Curve. It's more north than our last location on the 75-85 connector, but it's south of the Grady Curve. It's just a little bit north of our last location.
Are you saying the other location is north of this location?
That is more north than our last one. So it's from the last one we spoke about, it moved north.
Okay.
The plot is north of that.
Now, when you said I-75-85 split, which I-75-85 split are you referencing?
We're still talking about the bottom one, the south side of the city, not north side.
Okay, so let's For clarity, so when you were talking about this I-75, I-85 split, are we talking about closer to the airport or closer to, going towards Buckhead?
I've been, the entire time,
Ask and answer, Your Honor, you said it was.
Okay, all right, that's, I don't need any speaking objections, gentlemen. I keep telling you all that. I'll sustain your objection.
Your Honor, okay. All of these were I-75, 85 South?
correct.
Is that close to the airport?
Yes, it is. If we're using it as a reference, closer to the airport, yes.
Is that the same for what I've identified as number 4 on here?
Yep. Yes, same reference point.
Okay, so when you talk about the graded curve, which is what we're gonna apply to as number 6,
It's south of the graded curve, correct? Just south of the graded
this is
curve.
just south of the graded curve. What phone number?
678-353-9229 is calling our YSL 1990 phone.
Okay, sorry, 678.
Yes, 353-9229.
Okay. Number, did you pop another call after this?
Oh, yes.
What time was it?
It's 0516, so that's 1:16 a.m. on the 26th.
And where is the area that you plotted?
It's it's just west of the I-20, I-75, I-85 connection. That's right at the bottom part of the graded curve. Basically, near the state capitol, just south of the state capitol, at the I-20, 75, 85 kind of intersection area.
All right. And what number was contacted?
Our 1990 YSL Enterprise phone is calling 504-346-9596.
Is it 346-9596?
Yes, correct.
Okay. What's the next location that you plotted, or next time you plotted?
So this is going to be 0657 hours. So -4.
2:57 a.m.
That's correct. On the 26th.
What's the area of this call?
So that's going to be kind of west of Georgia Tech. So we're now, if we're looking at a clock, we're now looking at like a 10 o'clock if you were drawing from the center of Atlanta out to northwest of like kind of where we're at now. Just west, it's western direction from like the Georgia Tech area. I could give you a better reference point if you would like.
Yes, please.
It's getting into the area of Brady Avenue, the compound.
All right. And what number is being contacted?
So the YSL Enterprise phone is being contacted by 404-664-3383, which is the phone number that the subscriber information comes back to Jimmy Winfrey.
Okay. What's the next time that you plotted?
0657.
Is that the,
I'm sorry, 0658. I'm sorry. So just 1 minute later.
is that 2:58 a.m.?
That is correct.
Saying 4/26/2015?
That's correct.
All right. Where's the area of that phone?
The compound, Brady Avenue.
Is that this same Northwest Georgia Tech?
That's correct.
And what's the phone number?
So the number calling our YSL phone number is 404-901-5726.
All right. What's the next one?
It's 0703. So the -4 conversion is 303 AM.
Where's that phone plotted?
Similarly the same, Brady Avenue Club Compound.
And what's the phone number?
So the phone number calling our YSL Enterprise phone number is 404-664-3383, which is what we've identified as Jimmy Winfrey.
And for all these, this is where the cell tower is located for these plots.
Correct.
Okay. Looking at, did you plot something else after this?
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. Where is the next time?
0707 hours, so -4 conversion equals 3:07 AM.
What's the location?
So it's going a northwestern direction away from our area of Brady Avenue Club Compound, towards going more northwest towards 285.
And what phone number is being contacted?
So this is our 1990 YSL Enterprises phone number, contacting 678-815-5790.
What's the next time that you plotted?
0714 hours.
0714.
Correct.
Okay.
Which equals 3:14 AM
On 426.
on 426.
Where's this plotting?
It's plotting 285 at I-75. Best reference point is near the Battery Braves Stadium would be my reference point. That's current day Braves Stadium. Obviously in 2015, I don't think the Braves were there yet.
Okay. And what's the phone number being contacted?
Our 1990 YSL phone number is contacting 404-664-3383 that we've identified as Mr. Jimmy Winfrey's phone number.
Did you plot enough after this?
I did.
What is it?
0715 hours, so 3:15 AM.
Where did you plot?
It's 285 east of I-75, more towards Northside Drive would be my reference point in that direction, general area.
Did you say 285 east?
Correct. So it's still on the 285 line, east of I-75. And my best reference point would be, I think it's Northside Drive is the next exit, if my memory serves me.
Okay. And what number's being contacted?
So 404-664-3383. which we've identified as Jimmy Winfrey, is contacting our YSL Enterprises 1990 phone.
Did you plot after this?
I did.
What did you plot?
0716 hours. So 1 minute later, that puts us at 3:16 a.m.
Okay.
So our YSL phone number, oh, I'm sorry, did you want location?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, jumped ahead. We're still on the 285, going eastbound or northbound, however you want to determine it there. And it's further that northeastern direction, going towards 400.
And what number is being contacted?
So the YSL Enterprise phone number 1990 is contacting 706-351-7742.
Okay. Did you plot after this?
I did.
What is that?
0718, which puts us at 3:18 a.m.
Where's the, where did you plot?
It's going more that northeast direction, tracing I-285, going towards 400. I think the next exit's like Roswell Road, around that area, if my memory serves me.
And for the plot before that, is that still in that Roswell Road area or?
Yeah, it's correct. It's just moving more easternly. It's the one before that's on the other side of the Chattahoochee right there. This one is on, the one before that was on the west side of the Chattahoochee. This one's on the east side of Chattahoochee. So we're just moving in that same direction.
And when you said Chattahoochee, you mean the river?
The river.
Okay. What's the phone number being contacted?
So on this one, a number is calling into our YSL phone, and it's the 1990, and it's 770-875-2045.
Did you plot after this?
I did.
What's the next one?
The next phone call is at 0728. So that's 3:28 a.m.
Okay. Where is the location of this phone?
So we're now on I-75. Basically, I would say in between 285 and the I-75, I-85 connector, kind of right in between. So I would imagine just south of Northside Drive, without blowing up the map, I'd say just smack dab in the middle.
You said I-75.
So smack dab in the middle, if you're tracing I-75 from 285 in the Grady curve, smack in the middle of the connector and 285, just right there in the middle on I-75.
Okay. And what's the phone number?
So a phone number is calling into our YSL Enterprise 1990. It's the 706-351-7742.
Did you plot after that?
I did.
What's the time?
7:36 UTC. So that puts us at 3:36 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
What's the area that was plotted?
We're now south of the Grady curve at the I-75, I-85 intersection of I-20. We're south of I-20.
Is that still on 7585?
Yeah, so on 75, 85, south of I-20, just coming south of the Grady Curve.
Okay. And what's the phone number?
So calling into our YSL cell phone, enterprise cell phone, is the 706-351-7742.
Did you apply after that?
I did.
What's that?
So 1 minute later, 7:37 UTC, which is 3:37 a.m.
Where was the area that was plotted?
Pretty much the same exact area of before.
Is that I-75, I-85?
Correct. South of I-20. Correct. South of the Grady Curve. I'm trying to think my Atlanta geography. I think that's like Georgia State's new stadium. That's there, the old Turner Field kind of area.
And what's the phone number?
So calling into our YSL enterprise phone number is 404-901-5726.
What's the next time?
So 0738 UTC, so just 3:38 a.m.
What's the location?
So it's south of what we were at before. So it's on the I-75-85 interstate, south of the I-20 and Grady Curve.
Is that still in the same Turner Field? Old Turner Field location somewhere else?
It's just south of that location.
What's the phone number?
So our YSL Enterprise 1990 is contacting 404-901-5726.
All right.
I think last but not least is it's 0753 UTC. So it's just 3:53 a.m.
What's the area?
So it's, I would say Metropolitan Parkway near I-20.
And what's the phone number?
So our YSL Enterprise 1990 is contacting 678-815-5790.
And have we identified that number? The 5790?
5790? Where's our key at?
The first one? No, going back. Last one. Oh, no, it's over here.
Sorry about that. 5790 is the YSL Duke.
Okay. Now, looking at the plots on the 1990 phone, are there any similarities with the route that the 3883 phone took on the night of April 25th, 2015 into the morning of April 26th, 2015?
Objection, Your Honor. It calls for speculation on the plot of the film versus the plot of the towers.
I'm gonna sustain the objection.
Looking at what we charted out yesterday with some of the location areas, did you see any consistency between what we plotted out yesterday with the location areas and what we plotted out today in the location areas?
Same objection, Your Honor.
I sustain the objection.
looking at the chart from yesterday, do you see some of the same location names that you identified yesterday?
Same objection, Your Honor.
I stand the objection.
Yesterday at 2:01 a.m., did you notate that on April 26th that this phone, the 3883 phone, was in the area of Brady Avenue?
Objection, Your Honor, it calls for speculation.
Overruled, sir. I'll sustain as to leading, but I'm not, I'll overrule that as the answer.
What time, looking at what we did yesterday, at 2:01 and 3:04, is there a notation regarding Brady Avenue?
There is.
And at that time, what phone number was being contacted?
The 1990 YSL Enterprise phone.
And based on yesterday, did you identify a particular area based on this chart that we did yesterday?
I did.
What was that?
So that's Brady Avenue, Club Compound.
Okay. Now, looking at what we just discussed, do you see a notation for the 1990 phone at about 2:57 a.m.?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
I stand the objection.
Is there a line for 2:57 a.m. on what we just charted out?
There is.
Okay. And on that same line, is that line number 8?
Yes,
Okay. On that same line number 8, did you identify a general area?
I did.
What was that?
Objection, Your Honor, may we approach?
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, how about a comfort break? You okay? About 10 minutes, maybe? What do you think? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a comfort break, 10 minutes, okay? All right. All rise. All right, our jury is left, ladies and gentlemen.
My clients and yours and Mr. Adams' occurrence, I was hoping to be before